that is it for the news, guys. That's it. We're going to push news aside. We're going to jump into the topic of the show. We had somewhat of trouble to figure out what we wanted to talk about here, but I think since we're getting right at the end of that point where it feels kind of pointless talking about this, and because we've been on hiatus for however long we have been, we haven't had a chance to talk about this. So we were going to be doing a Last of Us Part 2 impressions and then a spoiler cast. So let me break this down for everybody so you understand, because I want to set the boundaries straight right from the get-go. What we're about to walk into right now, in the first part here, for a couple of minutes, we're going to be doing our impressions of the game. No spoilers. There will be no spoilers at the front. Okay? There will be a point where either myself or Seth will be like, okay, here we go. Here's the flag, where we will switch over to the spoiler cast and then spend a few minutes of time talking spoilers about The Last of Us Part 2. We will be very clear when we walk into that area. We're not just going to start spouting stuff out and spoil it for everybody. The Palace Stream's like, well, crap, I'll be out on the spoilers then. Yeah, if you haven't finished the game yet, we will draw the line and tell you when we're going to start walking into spoiler territory. But that is how the flow of this is going to go. We will be very clear about that. And then also for people, if you step out during the spoiler cast area, we'll probably be doing spoilers for about 10 to 20 minutes. And then if you're a subscriber, come back. We're going to do the post show on stream.
Yeah. And I think we'll be publishing we'll go live again. So if you have notifications turned on for the channel, you should get a notification when we go live again for the sub only post show.
Yeah. But yes, we're going to discuss right now, spoiler free. There will be no spoilers in our initial impressions of The Last of Us Part 2. I can say that Seth and I have both beaten the game. We've rolled credits. We've beaten the game. Seth, you want to go first or you want me to go first?
I need you to go first. You are my PlayStation my PlayStation buddy, and so I need to know from the words from your mouth, what are you feeling about this game?
Okay. So I think I talked to you about this off mic, but my problem with the game is I wish that I had more time to play it. And I wish that, and that's kind of one of the things sucking about being a content creator, is you kind of feel like you have to rush, quote unquote, through some stuff in order to experience it and talk to you guys about it. Thank you so much, Palace Streams. He's getting ready for this post show. Get hyped
show, which is exclusive only to Twitch subs. So
yes,
this is your time. If you want to sub, go ahead and sub right now, and then jump back in for the post show, which is going to be filled with shenanigans.
It is,
because I'm on it.
But
anyways,
I wish I had. I felt I rushed through it, and I wish I would have taken more time to experience that game more, and kind of at a slower pace and explored a whole lot more. And if I get a chance, I'll play through it again and experience it more. This is in my personal opinion, this is one of the best games ever. With this generation, sure, we can put that tag on it. It's going to be up at the top of people's list as one of the best games ever. Naughty Dog, I think, again, knocked it out of the park. They told an incredibly rich and detailed story with a lot of, we had our old characters coming back. We had a lot of new characters coming in. This was really just an experience. And even though I felt that I rushed through it in order to start talking about it with you guys, it was just, I don't know, it was something else. Palace Streams in chat says I'm only 1/3 of the way through it, and I don't know if I can handle it a second time. It is intense. It is brutal, and very. I read stuff. My personal opinion, I don't think it is as in your face as some other reviewers and people talked about it on, but it is very intense. It is not for the faint of heart in some areas, but I think Naughty Dog does a great job of that intensity helps tell the story in the themes that they're talking about. Kind of like as people know, as Neil Druckmann said, the first game was about love, and this game is about hate.
I just think of the video game donkey video he did a couple of weeks ago, where he's like, "This is the love game," and then it just shows like Joel like shooting someone point blank in the head, and I was like, "Yeah, that was the love game. This one goes way further."
Yes, it does, but like it was just so. It is intense, and I understand like people saying, "Ooh, I gotta take a minute when I play this game," but I think that really thinking on this, I compare this to when we talked about not Resident Evil, Red Dead Redemption 2, and talking about the ideology of like Red Dead Redemption 2 is the epitome of what we say when we say video games are art. And I think that The Last of Us Part 2 can now be set on the shelf with Red Dead Redemption 2, that this is art. Like, the detail... I remember a conversation when we watched one of the trailer videos, Seth, and for The Last of Us Part 2, and Ellie was running around, and these people were shooting arrows at her. And like the one arrow hit her in the shoulder, and like you were pulling it out. And I remember you saying specifically, like, "That's not how it's going to be in the game. There's no way." And that is exactly how it was in the game. It was actually a mechanic where you have to hold R1 to like pull the arrow out, otherwise you take bleed damage. Rurutu in chat says, "Is anyone going to compare it to Schindler's List?" I don't know. I don't know about that. Palace Stream says it's a beautiful game. Like
the answer to your question, Ruru, is no. We will not. We will not.
This game is beautiful. It is. I actually am having a hard time comparing this and Horizon Zero Dawn as which one is the best looking game on the PlayStation 4. Like, this squeezes out every, like, bleeding the stone dry of blood, every ounce of power from the PlayStation 4. My PlayStation 4 Pro, when I actually started paying attention to the noise, because I had my headphones on, it sounded like a jet engine was taking off in some areas of the game. Mm-hmm. And it tells, like, the environments, the environmental artist did a wonderful job. The character artist did a wonderful, this game is beautiful. The story is beautiful. I loved the gameplay mechanics, like the fighting mechanics. It's a very awesome evolution from the first Last of Us, especially as the way like they introduce more mechanics, and then you have like the whole arrow in the shoulder thing comes into play. What other stuff, like crouching, and the way they use the environment. Like, there are certain parts and areas when you're sneaking around where you can crouch and get under trucks and stuff, which wasn't there before, and like you can hide from people that way. But then people, very interesting when like people walk up and they'll like start looking under the truck for you and be like, "Oh, there she is," and they'll come after you. It's great. Palace Streams in chat says, "By the way, I like how Cam is talking about a PlayStation game while wearing a Nintendo shirt, and Seth is wearing an Xbox shirt. We are on brand. We rep all game brands here."
Listen, and if you want to learn more about our sibling fun rivalry, please check out Console Wars, our monthly show where we discuss the strategy, aka throw rocks at each other over the wall about next gen strategy. But no, this is when we're on here, we're going to be talking about, what's trendy, and this is trendy.
What's up, Cash family? I see you in chat using that that exclamation point cash tag. How you doing,
Cash
sir? Cash money. But no, I adore the game. It was great. It was, again, my big thing was just really not a knock against the game. It's just I wish I would have taken my time with this game, and I want to go back and play through and take my time with it, and just have those experiences come back through again, and especially with what I know beating the game, how the beginning of it plays out, if it plays out differently for me, and what my thinkings are. But I'll talk more. But like, Seth, what are your impressions on this?
Yeah, so we are similar in some areas, and we are very different in other areas. I think this game is without question a masterpiece. That does not mean it is perfect. That means that it is a fantastic game that will outlive its console legacy. So we will be talking about this game far beyond when we will be talking about the PlayStation 4 as a platform, right? This will be considered a milestone in PlayStation's thing. And Naughty Dog's had a knack, particularly with The Last of Us, of like sending out the console generation. Yeah. Oh, there you go. With sending out the console generation with a bang, right? Like they really
they did it with the first Last of Us.
Yeah, they did it with the first Last. They pushed the visual, the storytelling, everything about this game is just really top notch. I think it is one of the best stealth games ever made.
Really?
Think about, like, I would put it up there with Metal Gear 5. Metal Gear 5 Phantom Pain is still, I think that is the best stealth game ever made, period. This one is right up there with it. It's a close second.
Okay.
And it's a lot of the things that you talked about. So all spoiler free here. PlayStation in their marketing talked a lot about, you play as Ellie. Ellie plays very differently than Joel. And I was like, okay, this is PR shenanigans, but it really is the case with the way that you're navigating the world, the way that you fight. You are not a 35, 40-year-old guy. You are a very, you're a like young teenage, early 20s maybe girl who is much smaller physically. So you're able to move in and out of the environment in a lot of different ways. You were talking about crouching underneath cars. There's a lot of parts of the game where going prone is a huge part of this game. So going prone in the grass and hiding. And it's not like you'd think from like a traditional, like an Assassin's Creed, where it's like, oh, I'm going to crouch in this tall grass and then I'm going to like get this visual HUD that's like, oh, okay, you're hidden. And like with you talked about Horizon, like Horizon has the little eye that closes, right, to let you know you're invisible. This game doesn't do that. You have to go entirely based on contextual clues in the environment around you. So if you hear someone say, I think I see you over there, like, that they found you, but you're not going to get any indication of that until it's too late. So there are these instances, man, I'm telling you, this game is just stress city. You think about, the best way I can think about it is, you remember that all gillied up mission from Call of Duty Modern Warfare?
Yes. Yes, I do.
You're like prone in the grass and the people are like walking past you, up above you. And at that particular point, it was scripted because that was part of the level. No, this is actually what happens in this game. There are moments where I'm just like, I'm prone in deep grass, like up against a concrete barrier, and a dude is walking like maybe 3 feet from me. And I'm like, please don't see me, please don't see me, please don't see me, please don't see me. And then he walks past me, and it's really funny because they do a lot of the stuff like where they turn the corner real quick and like point the gun, trying to like check the corner. And then I just come up behind him and like, okay, sleepy time, It just feels
sleepy time.
Sleepy time. So it just feels so engaging. And there are some great GIFs that you can find on Twitter. I would advise against going on Twitter to look for this, but there are some GIFs that I've seen of like combat encounters that look like action films. Like, I'm gonna hop over this concrete barrier, pull out my shotgun, shoot this guy. Someone's gonna hit me with an arrow. I'm gonna pull the arrow out, pull out my pistol, pew pew. Oh, now a zombie jumped on and is eating the other guy that was with that other dude, and like now the zombies are after. It's like, it is an insane experience to like go through each of these combat encounters and just see how the environment is set up. It is, every single one is memorable. Like when we get into the spoiler areas, I'm gonna talk about specific areas and you're going to know exactly. You're like, oh, I remember that. Like, it is such a memorable thing. And I think this is something that Uncharted struggled with at times. Like there are, especially the earlier games, like they kind of struggled with that, like being memorable outside of the cutscene, right?
I think they started on that path by the time they got to Uncharted 4. And like with the introduction of like the hook, I remember fights in Uncharted 4 where like you're using the grappler hook, you're swinging around, you're like, boom, and you punch them, and then the gun flies up, and then you grab the pistol, and you're like, those are super cool moments.
It's cool. And I talk about this. This is from the gameplay perspective. I think this is the best game Naughty Dog's ever made. I think that you look at Uncharted 4 and Last of Us Part 2 next to each other. Uncharted 4 is an action game. It is not really about stealth that much. And I think that there was a little bit about the gunplay that felt a little off to me. And so when you're focused entirely on the action and the gunplay doesn't feel super tight, there were times where I'd get frustrated with the combat encounters, but I was there for the story. This game, I think the story is phenomenal and the gameplay is fantastic to back it up. I think this type of a game, like this action stealth hybrid, is such a better use of that combat engine that they have versus, oh, okay, let's crouch behind this cover. You know, Uncharted's like a cover-based shooter, right? Like it's a cover-based action game, whereas this is much more about, there's no like snap to cover, right? Like it's more of the organic type of stealth. But gameplay aside, story-wise, man, I want you to know I have never wanted a game to end so badly as this one. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, it's such a great story, but man, is it heavy. And there was one night in particular where I came in to talk to my girlfriend after I'd played, and she was like, man, you look like you just went on a binger. And I was like, this game is getting me. Like, the most stressful night of gaming I ever had was playing the first like 4 hours of Resident Evil 7 in VR. That was come home and just hit the bed because I was so tired, exhausted, and physically and emotionally. This game got me very close to that. There are really gruesome scenes, and I don't think when at first I was like, are they going to do this just like to be like gore porn? Like, oh, we're gonna look at how gruesome this is. But like, no, I think it plays into the idea that in this world of The Last of Us, at this point, you are years past the initial outbreak, right? If you are alive right now, you have had to do some serious shit. Like, there's no such thing as an innocent person in this world because everybody has had to suffer and everybody has had to see sacrifice and make sacrifices. So you're seeing this story unfold about people who have made these sacrifices to get to where they are, and they've made decisions, and those decisions have consequences. And you see that manifest itself in such a cool and interesting way here. This game is long. It is like, I think I clocked about 28 hours on it. Cameron, you were around the same, right?
Like somewhere in the 30s range, like 31, 32. But yeah, it's around the same.
No spoilers, but this game ends, for me, it ended 4 times. Like, I was like, all right, we're ready to roll credits. Like, bring on the credits. No. Oh, no, okay, another 8 hours. All right, cool. That's fine with me. Sure, I want it to end, but we'll keep going. So it does a little bit of that, but I think that where you build up to is absolutely fantastic and phenomenal. And I have a couple of minor gripes we'll talk about in like the spoiler section, but all in all, I think this is the best game that Naughty Dog has ever made, and I think it is the second best stealth game ever made after Metal Gear. And that should say something. You know, it's like up there with Metal Gear, says something about a studio that I don't think had, really started making the types of games they make now back at the beginning of the PlayStation 3, right? That was when they really started making those types of games. So
we got Uncharted.
It's so good. So, please, The Last of Us has been riddled with like weird, leaks and things like that. Even if you know some stuff from the leaks, I'd say play the game, because the context for what a lot of those story beats happen, that's the game, right? Like, that's the story, is not just knowing, it'd be like someone sitting down and being like, oh yeah, well, Star Wars is just about this kid who like gets recruited to go blow up the Death Star. Like, yeah, that's the plot point, but like the fun comes in watching it and seeing the characters go through the struggle, right?
And I'll definitely say, for some of those leaks, because I looked at the leaks right after I beat the game, some of them aren't accurate. I will say that. If you checked some of the leaks before the game came out, they may not be entirely truthful. So taking the chance to experience and play this game is, again, like I think this game it sold over 4 million copies. It's PlayStation 4's best-selling exclusive. Period. Like, better than Spider-Man, God of War.
It was fastest selling within that time. I think that
fast selling,
best selling overall, but like Spider-Man also has a 2-year jump. So
give it time, and like that's with leaks too. So that should tell you something.
Dude, now Spider-Man got leaked as well. Did you know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man?
What? No.
Yeah. This is big news, dude. Maybe that was a leak that only I saw, but
why didn't you tell me? I would have put the spoilers on. Jeez.
Spoiler tag on that, yeah. So did you have any other thoughts before we jump into the spoiler section that you want to talk about?
Yeah,
or things that you like to discuss?
Oh, what would I like to discuss? Oh, actually, hold on. I'll discuss that my hand can be seen on the frame. Can you see my hand in your frame?
Shaking around.
There we go.
My.
There. Now it's gone. Now it's gone.
Patch it up.
It's patched.
Patch it up.
No, I like the combat encounters. You talked about the combat. Like, I remember seeing some gifs of like, you run off, you're on the second floor and you jump off the top and you like literally Macho Man elbow drop from the top turnbuckle, like jump on somebody and like stab them, jump up, throw Molotovs at them. There was one that I didn't even know you could do where you can grab an enemy, and then if you're fighting infected, if a clicker's coming at you, you can take them and throw them towards the clicker, and the clicker will eat them. And I was like, why didn't I do this?
Yeah.
There's a lot more to that combat than there was the first one, and even after playing through the entire game and seeing all the modes, there was still stuff that I didn't know you could do that popped up.
The Cash family from chat has asked us to talk a little bit about the violence level. It is rated M for mature.
Yes.
I would say this is a very violent game. I would not advise playing this if you are exceptionally like squeamish. I don't think it's quite as bad as like, I was going in expecting like a gore porn type of thing, like a gross for gross's sake, but there are gross scenes in here, but they all seem to be in favor of building on the brutality of this world.
They matter, and I think Rutu actually brings up a good kind of comparison. It's Mortal Kombat, but just not as silly. Honestly, like in some depictions, I think that Mortal Kombat may be more graphic, but I think
Mortal Kombat is more graphic from like you see organs doing weird stuff. This game is more just brutal actions.
I think the tone in the kind of path forward and the fact, it's more realistic, plays a little bit more into like how violent it is. Seth, I agree with you. I don't think it's torture porn. Some people said, "Oh, it's torture porn." Like, I didn't really. I went through the game not really feeling that, even in some of the bigger moments. Palace Stream says it's more of a serious, realistic brutality. Yeah, no, you could say that. You could say that.
I think a good way to put this is, think about a game like Assassin's Creed, right? You walk up behind someone, you press Y, and you see like a little, blade or something like, stab into them, and then they just kind of fall over, and you're like, and they're dead. This game, if you attack someone from behind, it is going to look like an attack from behind. It isn't going to just be like, I'm going to stab you with my generic thing. It is going to be I'm going to grab you. I'm going, you're like struggling, and your mouth is like, you're trying to yell.
You're going to see, like when Ellie takes out her switchblade and you grab somebody from behind, and like it's going to zoom in a little bit, and you're going to see that person's face, and you're going to see her go shink right under the neck, and like they're going to I will definitely say there were like, the game is very realistic in the fact, like, especially in the fact when you kill somebody and like they flop on the ground, you're going to see like there's going to be this pool of blood like pull around that person and kind of spill out, and it can get pretty rough. And so like the Cash family says in chat, I was warned and skipped it due to not being in the right headspace for it. Like this is a game you do need to be in the right headspace for it. If you're a little concerned about like some graphic depictions of violence and things like that, even however quick or long they might be, it might be something I might take a minute and make sure you're kind of in the right headspace too, because there are a lot of heavy themes in this game. But I do not think it's not violence for violence sake. Like the violence is there to drive home the message that
this game is
Naughty Dog, that Naughty Dog has for this game, which is about hate. And so I think they do it very well. I fully, like, honestly, I heard it was torture porn, and I expected, like, Mortal Kombat styles of, like, let me rip them open and, like, open them up and, like, have their organs spill on the ground, and it's nothing like that.
Not like that, There's a couple more things I want to point out that I really appreciate about this game. I think that this game has probably the best accessibility suite of tools that I have ever seen in a shooter. Like, it is
ever, just not even in a shooter, just like,
ever. Yeah, like it has got. If there is any type of physical disability that you have, whether different types of color blindness, mobility, anything like that, there are options for it. The accessibility options are enormous, which I think is really cool, and it opens this game up to a lot more people. Bouncing off of what you said, yeah, this is maybe not the best 2020 game. If you're having a stressful year like many of us are, it might not improve that situation. But I can say that it is one of the best stories that Naughty Dog has ever told. I think they do some really amazing and unique things here, and it is all polished with, at this point, like I call it just the Naughty Dog love, you know, just like that. The way the gun benches work, like when you upgrade your scope, you build the scope. Like, it's not just like, oop, magic appears. Like, nope. Like, if you're going to create a new, you say you upgrade the barrel for, better stability or more powerful, right? You see her like pull the file and like, file down the end of the barrel to create the exhaust port, whatever that. I'm not Will. I can't tell you what part of the gun is, but where the compensator. That's it. I played enough COD to know that. But like, it's that level of detail. There are these little things in the game that, once you finish the game, you realize they're scripted, but in the moment they just feel so like organic and just part of the gameplay. And I think what Naughty Dog does really well is right as soon as you start to get bored with the way things are going, they mix it up with something new. And that's really hard to maintain for 28 hours, but they do it, and they do it so well. So
yeah. JW Moses in chat says, I think I will be waiting on a lot of new games. Still too many to play. Amen to that, brother. Man, we're halfway through and we're still getting a lot of great games.
We can just wait for it to come to Game Pass.
But it's... Hey, all right. Calm down.
Save it for console wars.
Please calm down. Palace Streams in chat says, I love the crafting upgrades. I was surprised to see that. That is really cool. Like to, I got to file down the grip to have better control, and you'll see, boom, and put it on there. I didn't know this yet either. Palace Stream says, I looked at the trophy list too. Seems like it's a lot easier to earn the platinum than the first one. That is good. I would love. It does
not have a trophy attached to completing the game on difficulty. So like, you get a trophy for beating the game, no matter what difficulty, and that is the only completion trophy that you get.
That is awesome. Awesome.
I think I finished it and only had about 20 or 30% of the trophies. So there's a lot of replayability if you want to go back and get more collectibles. The collectibles are really fun. I won't spoil too much, but there's one of the collectibles are like these little trading cards for like the fictitious superheroes. So think like Marvel, if they had like Marvel trading card. And I loved just collecting them and reading about the powers. And I was like, as I collected them as many as I could and read them, I was like, man, this is like X-Men level of story crafting, because it's not just like, oh, this person can create fire with their hands. It's like someone who was abused, and when they are emotionally like when they're upset, their power grows in relation to their upset, like their level of upsetness, right? And so the card talks about like you have to calm them down, right? So it's kind of like the Hulk, but in this but in a really interesting, like it's a teenage girl, right? So it's like you're trying to deal with the teenage girl whose like emotions are all over the place, just as being a teenager in general. And it was just really fun like that. So, man, what a masterpiece.
Cash Family, before you go, again, we are about to walk into spoiler territory here. If you are a Twitch subscriber, give us like 15 minutes around maybe like 8:40-ish. We're going to be going into our post-show that will be subs only. So once we get done with the spoiler cast, we'll be talking with you guys one-on-one and goofing off and having a good time. Palace Stream says, I heard you can hit platinum on just 2 playthroughs, since most of the trophies are related to collectibles. That's good. That's good to know.
Make sure to drop that sub in real quick and then turn on notifications, so as soon as we go live again with sub only post show, you can jump right back in.